I'm here with Björn of In Flames to talk about the new record, the new singles, the American tour that they're on. I mean, there's a lot of things on the table, and let's start off with that, the tour. I saw you guys in Toronto, was an insane show. Was that a perfect snapshot of what this whole tour has been like?
Canada is really, really good for us. So obviously it's some of the highlights of a tour like this. We don't tour enough up there, I think. So we all want it really bad when we finally get there. The US is awesome. We love touring in the US. Got a bunch of really cool bands with us. Tour is doing really good. I'm excited to be back on the road again, and headlining, finally playing a couple of more songs per show. So yeah, it's all good, man.
How has the tour been so far, and what part of touring did you miss the most during the pandemic?
It's the being on stage part. It's literally the reason why I still love all of this, all the shit surrounded with it too. It's so we can be on stage and do what we do, I think, absolutely best. It's even when we write and record, I have that in mind all the time, how it would feel live and how things would come over live. So yeah, that's what I miss the most, and that's what literally what feels so good after the pandemic and everything, to be able to do this pretty much back to normal again, and that's amazing.
The set list that you guys played in Toronto, I'm assuming it's a very similar set list across the whole North American show. It almost felt like a little bit of a biography of what In Flames has done from the early days to today, very different from previous times when I saw you guys. What was the thought process on creating a set list that has this biographical aspect to it?
I think it's just a matter of finally finding a way of incorporating older stuff into the set. It's not very easy. We have, with this new album, 14 albums out, and it's it's not getting easier putting a set list together. But I think these songs that we play right now, they fit pretty well together with the brand new stuff, and also the stuff that we've done recently. It kind of encompasses, like, has a little bit of our whole career in it. And again, as I said, it's really hard. Next time we come around, we'll probably play some old stuff again, which we always do, and we'll play some new stuff again. It's just, yeah, maybe you just like this set list better than previous ones.
I just thought it was really interesting because you guys are like, okay, so from this album, we're going to do this song. Like, it was a really interesting approach. It felt like we went into a time capsule and we got to see a little bit more of the earlier stuff than what we normally do. And that takes me to my next point, which is the new singles. I mean, you guys are playing them on the tour. I'm sure the reception has perhaps overwhelmed you guys. Were you overwhelmed by the fans' reaction to the singles?
I wouldn't say overwhelmed. It's always, you never know, right? You release new music, you write music that you really are passionate about and that you really are super proud of and basically think is missing out there, and we do it until the point that we're super satisfied with it and there's nothing more we can do. We're as happy with this as we ever going to be, and then we just put it in everybody else's hands, and it's really up to them to figure out what they think about it. So it's never, you never know before. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about going back to roots and stuff like that, which is, in my opinion, it's very easy to say it like that. Roots are something that you have with you. I always believe that. And for me, it's always been, I know exactly who I am musically and where I'm from. I just use that moving forward, So you never know. People might want to call it going back. I call it moving forward, knowing who I am or who we are, So it's awesome when people get excited, of course, because it creates talk, and talk is what you want around your music and around your band. And so hopefully people actually get out there, give it a shot, listen to the album, come to one of the shows, check us out, see who we are, so that's always good.
For the fans out there trying to figure it out, where this album is going to go musically, do you feel like the singles that you guys have released are an accurate snapshot of what the whole album is going to be like?
There's, I don't know, on every record, we don't want to do the same song over and over, just as little as we want to do the same record over and over. So there will be all sorts of different types of songs on the album. It's always been our thing, and we like it that way because we are kind of old school that way. We make an album. We don't make singles or songs or radio or whatever. That's not how we work. We make an album, so we want the dynamics to be put in the right place on the album as well, as much as we do on a set list or in a song, you know. So for us, it's more about the big picture, the whole picture, and then you choose a couple of songs that you want to highlight. We think it was awesome to start with something that wasn't you know, maybe very immediate, like a big chorus or something like that. There's songs like that as well on the record, but we felt it was awesome. We were a little pissed off after the pandemic. We wanted to, you know, start off with energy, right? So that's what we've done. And there's plenty of, it's a metal record, you know, in the end. It's who we are. So yeah, I think all of the songs obviously is a part of it, but it's hard to say that one song would represent the whole album.
What did the pandemic give you that helped the creative process behind this record that perhaps if there wasn't a pandemic, you wouldn't have had the opportunity maybe to try something or to go in a different direction?
Well, it gave us time. If it wasn't a pandemic, we'd be touring, you know, and that would obviously not give us the time to write and record in the same way. And I really don't know. It was really frustrating, to put it like that. The pandemic was really frustrating, especially the first 2-3 months. I felt absolutely useless. Everything I knew, everything I loved doing was just taken away. And not only myself being on stage, but going to concerts, doing all these things that is related to who I am and to what I do, just got taken away. And that was really frustrating. And I felt utterly useless, you know? So that wasn't a very inspiring time at all. But eventually small things started changing. You know, you could go back to restaurants, meet up with people, start talking music again. Everything wasn't online all the time, as it was the first half year. So it was incredibly isolating. And that's not who we are, and that's not who I am. I like people. I like being on stage. I like talking to people, you know. So all that was really frustrating. But after a while, you sort of realize that it's actually an opportunity, even though I didn't choose it myself, to have some time off, to reflect a little bit, to gather energy, and, you know, think about what we have done, what we could do in the future, and really solidify your commitment to the band. And having this opportunity, you know, to record, work with these guys again, sort of a fresh start after the pandemic. Yeah, it gave us time to reflect, gave us time to record and sort of start again, you know.
When it comes to making the new album, or even when it comes to making any In Flames album, how do you find the perfect balance between creating songs that have that individual fingerprint to them, but at the same time allowing them to still connect well with one another so that the album works not just from an individual point of view, but from a collective standpoint?
Yeah. We do, most of the time we do, if there's 13 songs on the record, we do 13, possibly 14. You know, we don't do 35 songs and see what sticks. So each and every riff, melody, part in every song is really, really thought through and put together in a way that it's supposed to work together with each other. So, and when I write music, it's usually a melody, a riff, could be something inspired by a couple of lines that Anders wrote, or it could be anything like that. So you never know really where it's going to take you. There's no recipe for it before you start. You know, you got your chops and tricks and ideas, and where do you want to take a certain riff and melody? You have those with you, I guess. But the absolute start is just, you don't know. It's just something that happens to be caught, and you put it on tape, and then you build from there. And I don't know, and just the way that we work, the way we arrange, the way we think about it early. As soon as I have a couple of those riffs and melodies, Anders starts to put together like a blueprint of the record. So you see what's missing. You want something powerful there. You want something more mellow there. You want the energy to be up here. You know, all those things. That it's good to have those as a like a mental blueprint when you continue writing. When you go further delve deeper into the different areas of the record. So I never thought about it like it's a conscious process. It's just something that has happened over the years, that we found a way of working around the material that pops up and then refining it until we feel it's really, really good. And then you build upon that. So yeah, I don't know if that was a good answer to your question, but it's sort of how we work. Yeah.
It was. I want to go back to something that you said. You mentioned the roots, like how people refer to going back to the roots. If you spend a lot of time on the internet, you hear people referring to old In Flames, new In Flames. How do those monikers hit with you? Do you are you taken back by when you read stuff like that? You don't care? Like, does it affect you at all?
No, it can. I mean, first, I don't read much of that stuff. I stopped reading those sites and comments years ago when, and it had nothing to do with us. It was about other bands. It was like when Dio passed away and stuff like that. People were really, really rude and being absolute fucking assholes online. And I was like, that's it. I'm not gonna read any of that shit anymore. So I really don't. People might tell me, but that's very rare usually, because people are not as comfortable doing that if they're not behind their keyboard. So it's I don't pay attention to that stuff. But I think people would be surprised if they really knew us and were sitting down with us for a while we're writing, while we're talking about music in general. They think there's like two different like ways of thinking. Like we need to be old school death metal, or we need to be radio pop music. There's none of those are completely true. You know, it's what we're looking for is a good feeling. You know, does it hit right? You know, when you listen back on it, does it intrigue you? Does it make you feel a certain way? Can you see in front of you the audience? You know, all these. That's all we think about. Is this going to be massive? Is this going to be, or is this going to be emotional enough? For these things are what we talk about. We don't talk about new or old or any of that. We just talk about what's good or bad, in our opinion. Yeah.
You're tuning out the noise on the internet, but when it comes to an album coming out with people reviewing the album and journalists talking about the album, are those voices as easy to tune out sometimes as the fans or the negative comments that people post?
Well, I guess you have to take all the positive with the negative, because it's just part of it. We've done what we think is the most badass record we could possibly do. And we really do think so, you know, and then after that, it's just a tasting, really. We know that we put in all the effort we could, spend all the time, money, blood, tears, sweat, all that we could possibly do on this record. So we know we've done our part, you know, but after that, it's a tasting, and you never know. This is the same for every band. There's a few times you can maybe just get what do you call it, like a trend wind in your back, and sometimes you're against the wind. You know, it's just a matter how it works. And if you're confident enough in your music, in your abilities as a band, as an individual, I think most of that stuff doesn't really matter. And we are at a point where we can choose our touring, which is absolutely fantastic. We can choose our timing for making records. We can all these things are incredible. So there's no reason for me to get pissed off if somebody doesn't like the record. I still have the opportunities to do them, you know. So it's, for me, it's just a matter of sorry. There's other records to listen to, honestly, and I would be very fine with that. It's fun if you like our stuff, but if you don't, it's okay, you know.
One thing that you mentioned about creating an album, thinking about how the reception is going to be live. Sometimes you listen to a song in the studio format and it doesn't hit you as hard as when I go to a show and I see you guys performing it live. Is the studio record just kind of an appetizer to then what's the actual representation of the song is going to be once you guys perform it?
I guess you'll get a totally different answer out of Anders, perhaps, or some of the other guys in the band. But for me, creating the music is really, I like the creation part of it, like the inspirational first parts of it. After that, it's more of a craft. It's about arranging, it's about building the song, it's about getting the dynamics right. And we talked about this before with the whole setup of the album and everything. But for me, in all honesty, all that stuff, it's just a means for me to be back on stage and play, you know, in front of people. So it's yeah, it's a means to an end for me, to be honest. Yeah.
I have one last question for you, and I want to thank you for taking the time today. And that is, when you're not making records, when you're not on stage, when you're not performing, when you're not dazzling the crowd like you guys did in Toronto, the place was absolutely nuts. Everybody was going mental. What do you do for fun?
Oh, for fun. Ah, shit.
I'm not saying not fun. I'm not saying playing live is not fun, but outside of that, what do you do for fun? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. I mean, love hanging out with friends and family, obviously. Love football, the proper football, soccer. So we go to a lot of games, watch a lot of games. I paint, draw, read, play a lot of video games. I'm like any other nerd out there. So it's like, I like, you know, I like being a dude.
I have to ask you, who's your favorite team? Malmo?
No. Malmö, that's south. No. My team's a Gothenburg team. It's called Gais. Gais.
All right. Well, they're not in the Champions League, but you know, it's hard.
Oh no, we're kind of far away from that. We're doing pretty good in our like third division right now. So
okay, so they're far away from that. Yeah. Well, Björn, thank you very much for your time today. It was an absolute pleasure. I also want to say thank you because I got your guitar pick in Toronto. So thank you for throwing it my way. I know it was not intended, but
it was absolutely intended.
But I got it anyway. So thank you very much for that. It's always a pleasure to see you guys live, and come back soon again, please.
Absolutely, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll have it up there. So thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you very much. Take care. All the best.
All right. Bye-bye.